So we're going to be looking at two images that are very important, kites and trapezoids. So for number 1 and 2, I just wrote kites and trapezoid. Let me talk about the perimeter and the angles. The cool thing of the kites, I know we talked about the figure before, so let me draw a kite. One cool thing about the kites is that the top two sides are equal and the bottom two sides are equal. Not all four, just the top two are equal, the bottom two are equal. So if I came and I told you this is 5 and this is 7, you know this is 5 and this is 7. I can ask you for the perimeter. Basically, you're going to add all the sides. In this case, you should get 24, right? If you add 5 plus 5 plus 7 plus 7. So that's on the perimeter. And then when it comes to angles, these two angles on the side are equal, but the one on the top and bottom are not. Then we have this thing that we call diagonals. The intersection in the center is 90 degrees, but the angle on the top and the angle at the bottom are cut in half. Not the ones at the sides, only the one on top and only the one at the bottom. For example, let's say the angle on the top was 60, just to say a number, and the angle at the bottom was 90, like the whole angle at the bottom. So we know the angle on the top is 60. That gets broken down into 30 and 30. The angle at the bottom is 90. That gets broken down into 45 and 45. Right? Gets cut down in half. Now, I can come and ask you for any other angle now. I can ask you for this angle. And the way I want you guys to solve this, I want you to know that there is a triangle. You know of that triangle, you know two angles, the 130 on the top, the 90. So you should be able to figure out that this angle right here is 60, because remember, all three angles add up to 180. The same way, I can look at another triangle. I'll take a look at this other triangle, and I can ask you, in this case, I can ask you for this angle. I'm going to highlight it. You know that the angle at the bottom is 45. You know this angle is 90. So you see that you know two angles. You should be able to figure out that the third angle is 45. The reason why, because all three angles have to add up to 180. I could ask you for any other corner, so you should find out that this is 60 and this is 45 as well, and this is 90. So you can find out any angle in there. Now, let's take a look at a trapezoid. On a trapezoid, the top side and the bottom side are parallel. One side is bigger than the other one. And let's take a look at these other sides. The interesting part of trapezoids, remember the top side and the bottom side are parallel, but they're different length. The only cool thing about them is that the two angles on the left, they're not necessarily equal. However, they do add up to 180. So if you know one of the angles, you basically know the other one. For example, if I tell you this angle right here is 110, you should know this angle at the bottom is 70, because those two angles add up to 180. At the same time, if I look on the right side, if I tell you this angle is 100, you should know this is 80, because those two combined should add up to 180. Notice how the two on the left are not equal to the two on the right. Unless, so now there's a big unless. Let me erase these. If I tell you these two sides are equal, then the two angles on the left have to match the two angles on the right. So that happens only if I tell you that it's an isosceles trapezoid. Now let's take a look about the diagonals. I'm going to look into a kite. Let me draw a kite again. When I mean diagonals, I'm talking about these two segments in red. We just learned that they cross at 90 degrees. Now, the interesting part on the diagonals, when it comes to the kite, the side that goes from left to right, if I have it standing up, the side that goes from left to right gets cut in half. So if this side is 5, this other side is 5 as well, because it's equal length. It was cut in half. So in some of your homework, I'm going to call each corner A, B, C, and D. And I might ask you, I might just give you a kite like this, and I might ask you to find AC. I want to know the distance between A and C. We know part of it is 5. We know the other part is 5, since I told you they get cut in half. So I'm going to say AC, the whole thing is 10. Now, the diagonal that goes from the top to the bottom, BD, that one does not get cut in half. I could say this is 3, and this right here, it is 12. Like I said, it does not get cut in half. So that's what the interesting part on diagonals. Now, trapezoids, let me take a look at on a trapezoid. Trapezoids, the diagonals are these. The interesting part of trapezoids only happens when we have a isosceles trapezoid. What I mean with isosceles trapezoid, I'm telling you that this side at the left and this side at the right, they're equal. So if that happens, each trapezoid is equal to the other one. It does not get cut in half. So it doesn't get cut in half. So let's call this A, B, C, and D. And I tell you, AC is 10. I want you to find BD. So I told you that one trapezoid is 10. Remember, this only happens with an isosceles trapezoid. So I told you one diagonal is 10. Then I might ask you how big is the other diagonal. They're equal length, so you should just say 10. Once again, this only happens on an isosceles trapezoid, and that's the only interesting part of diagonals on a trapezoid. So in your homework, you will see figures. There's one that might give you a little bit of trouble. What I did on that one, I have a kite on the top. So you will use the rules of a kite. And then I have a trapezoid at the bottom. So you will have to use the rules of a kite from the top and the rules of a trapezoid at the bottom. And I even tell you that this angle of the kite is equal to this angle on the trapezoid. So that's the one that's going to give you a little bit of trouble in your homework, but this is basically it.